Hello, my friends, and welcome back to House of the Dragon episode 5, reaction following the scathing events and heartbreak and absolute tragedy of last week's bombshell of an episode in which we lost one of my favorite characters of this show. Rhaenys cried on camera, didn't think that was gonna freaking happen, and I was truly reeling from the events of last week, feeling like we were in the gutter. Team Black, we are in shambles. Things were not looking up. But one of you guys actually commented, and I've been thinking about it. One of you guys really thought this was a win for Team Black, suggesting that Team Green is actually gonna just actively be falling apart from here on out since they're kind of just betraying each other. I mean, Aemond essentially sabotaging Aegon, and now he's going to be looking like Anakin in Revenge of the Sith. It's difficult to see that as anything but purposeful and intentional on Aemond's part. And I've been convincing myself all week long that they spared us Alicent ripping him an absolute new one after he accidentally eliminated Lucerys at the beginning of the season. That was like one thing I had been really wanting to see from the opener of this show so far this season, her tearing him apart to shreds. They didn't show us that. We were robbed of her absolutely ripping him a new one following those events, so I'm convinced that it's because they were going to show it here. The question is, though, will she? For Aemond, though, I think she fears him. I think she's like Dr. Frankenstein. I think she fears her own creation and what he's capable of, especially if she learns the truth of the matter here, if he and Kristen Cole, in the midst of their conspiracies, try to cover this up somehow. But I just don't know how they're going to explain this in a way that's favorable to anyone. And we also have Gwaine there, you know, Alicent's brother there, who is a witness to everything as well. We're gonna see Aegon cosplaying as Anakin Skywalker, I imagine. Listen, y'all, I'm actually really... I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think one of the biggest shockers of this season is how drawn I am to his character after really feeling like he had nothing to offer aside from being like a piece of garbage who abuses women, which still kind of is the truth. But I have to give it to him. He's only a product right now, I feel like, of everybody else, and his own mother suggesting he's not powerful enough and he's not necessarily even worthy of holding the crown, holding the throne, and that it was just kind of everybody's manifestations in the background orchestrating this to happen solely so they could secure their own bloodline. But does Aegon himself really matter? And I have to give it to him. I do feel like he has this ambition, has this drive to want to be better than his father, to want to actually have a good legacy. Unfortunately, he's just been driven to the brink by the people around him that he trusts, although I think that trust is deteriorating and it drives him to do these crazy rash things to try to prove himself that ultimately make things worse. One of you guys suggested that this was actually a good sign for Team Black because, well, yes, we lost a power player. I think this is going to be a unifying tragedy. Team Green, on the other hand, they're all a little bit rash, all a little bit on a power trip, kind of self-serving. I think Team Green is really actually about to spiral from this into all different directions since they're kind of just like eating each other alive, it seems. They can't necessarily hold the situation together. So I'm choosing to have faith, thanks to you guys, that even though we've lost Rhaenys, absolute boss, absolute queen, we might be able to rally from this in her name. So without further ado, let's get in and see how we rebound from the absolute just tragedy of last week. See what we can make from this. Oh no, no. Oh, it's gonna make me cry, I can't stop. No. Rhaenyra, she lost like her confidant here.
Behold, the traitor dragon Velez!
What the now?
At Brook's Rest!
F you! No, no, frick this. What is with their fetish of parading corpses through the streets? They don't look impressed. They're like, ugh. Ah, literally still singed, literally still looking, oh my god. Yeah, I don't think they're impressed. Yeah, Aegon's probably not looking much better than that, TBH. Speaking of, in there.
Traitor dragon Velez!
I thought the dragons was gods. It's just me.
Holy jeez, props. Rip him apart! Rip him apart, do it. Ah, she frickin' fears him. God dang it. Oh god, what's he gonna look like? I wonder if they'll even show us. See, she's wearing black, y'all. She wants to be on our side. He does look like Anakin.
His grace remains with us.
Oh. Ow. 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 Ew.
Is my son going to die?
I'm afraid I cannot say.
The last thing she ever told him was that he was freaking nothing. Why? Get out of there! Get out! Who let you in? Look at him, he's admiring his own work. He's freaking proud. God, stop now.
The king. Sir Kristen, what with Velez?
His grace fought valiantly.
And Aemond? What was his part in this?
Go to your brother. Get the truth from him. You are so pathetic, it hurts. Go to Gwaine, girl.
Has been killed. Kristen Cole marches about the Crown lands unchallenged. We still have no ground army but the one we hope that Daemon will raise. He who has left us after some marital spat.
Do you take issue with me, Sir Alfred?
My loyalty to you is proven, my queen.
No, it
Loyalty,
isn't.
perhaps.
It is merely that the gentler sex, heretofore, has not been much privy to the strategies of battle.
There has been peace in our lifetime. You've seen no more battles than I have.
Get him!
If Cole pursues his campaign, our allies must be
We
ready.
must answer Rook's Rest. If Aegon is dead, we will soon know it. 'Twould be a victory in name only.
If we can strike King's Landing before that dragon is recovered.
Then I myself must do it. My queen. What would you have me do?
We going after Rhaegar?
Where are you going?
To treat with the Daemon, he must affirm his loyalty to my mother and report his standing.
And the queen herself could not.
My mother gladly sends you away. Whilst I'm here being forced to play the coddled princeling, it's humiliating. I must be seen to act for her claim and mine. Crickenstark's greybeards are marching south. If his men had a direct route into the Riverlands, we would not have to wait for Daemon to act.
She will not like it.
Then don't tell her. Until I'm away.
The hour is late. My dragon is hungry. No choice but to submit. Bend the knee to me. Or your house burns.
Brackens were a people hatched out of the deepest of the seven hells, your grace. Be a kindness to oblige them and send them back whence they came.
We choose fire.
Well, goodbye.
He's so eager to die. You should have indulged them. I need them alive.
But now you see what my house has known for generations.
They would rather burn than succumb. Exactly the kind of men I need. Perhaps you could try less fighting and more persuading.
Every man has a weakness.
You take my meaning then. Show them your worst.
I am your servant, your grace.
What is he suggesting?
They would make me queen, but they wish to keep me here, confined. I am now the sovereign. I cannot do as I please.
Will you send to him?
For too long I have looked to him for strength. If I must be supplicant to my own husband, what does that make me?
Seize your own, girl. Seize it. You're powerful. You
I
got
do
this.
not know my part, Massaria.
Kristen Cole made a mistake.
Do tell.
Parading a dragon's head through the streets like a prize of war. The people see an ill omen.
Yes, as do I.
They whisper to each other that when Viserys lived, there was peace. They are 1,000 living in the shadow of the Red Keep and forgotten. What you cannot do, let others do for you. There is more than one way to fight a war.
She's speaking facts. She's right, though. Everyone in King's Landing looked disturbed, not celebratory.
The thought of her lying in a field, broken amongst her enemies. She was fierce. In love and in anger. I wished I had known her when she was young. You are very like her in some ways. I must rely on you, I think. Would you give this to your grandsire? I do not wish to stand alone.
Daemon. Viserys wasn't suited for the crown. If only he'd been born first.
My favorite son.
What the?
Is the duck not to your liking, Your Grace?
What is happening to him?
Goose myself.
No. This is awful.
How does the work here progress?
Oh, there's of course the matter of payment. I rather thought, Your Grace, as emissary to the Queen, that perhaps she could provide the necessary coin.
I shall guarantee the payment myself.
Very well, Your Grace.
You should address me as my king.
But you're the prince.
Daemon. Oh, freaking jeez.
His Grace suffered grievous burns over much of his body. I must admit, I'm not sure he will ever wake. Our king's fate
Aemond.
lies with the gods now.
He's just... God, he's loving this. He's relishing this.
But now we must name a regent to take his place. Until he recovers.
Please.
I myself served in this role with my husband. I am well prepared to do it again.
Please.
The obvious choice is his immediate successor, Prince Aemond.
Look at him.
And his lack of restraint has already cost us dearly.
Get him.
At a time when we must show strength.
Lord Varys.
I agree, Your Grace, it must be Prince Aemond. But the hand speaks with the king's voice, Sir Kristen, what say you?
You spineless.
Aemond is the next in line.
You have no integrity. I can't. I don't feel bad for Alicent though. This is her own child. She's pissed.
Your brother says to me, Daemon should look in his place.
I kind of don't pity her though. These are your kids.
The city's safe no longer. You think Rhaenyra will let such an affront go unchallenged? Are we not beggars already?
The king has promised payment.
The king has lied. Stay and wait for his empty promises, husband. With them you can feed the mouths of ghosts.
Ow. Oh, well, that's not good. That's one way to win over the hearts of the people. What's the tactic here? Force their submission and loyalty.
Our Lord Grover Tully is not declared for Rhaenyra.
Jason Lannister is marshalling to the west. We need to check him before he reaches River Run.
Winter's nigh upon us.
Our hesitance does not lie in Rhaenyra as queen. Our fear lies in Vhagar. Do you offer us your protection?
I do.
Though it occurs to me that dragons cannot be in two places at once.
Or three. What do you want?
He looks so small in this framing, the perspective.
Does the queen intend to raise up a new lord?
You want Harrenhal for that? My mother will want more than your crossing.
What does her grace desire?
Bent knees.
It's funny the way they framed that. He kind of looked like a kid still, just cosplaying in a position of power. At least he's doing something.
There are others who would sit idle and wait for their claims to be brought. Let it not be said that Daemon Targaryen failed to dirty his hands in this war.
I hear strange things from Brackenland.
What I hear in the wind. Cries of anguish. Men coming home to find their doors unlatched, their wives carried away.
War is a terrible thing.
These are crimes against the innocent.
The Blackens had their chance to do as I required.
Is that the kind of army you would raise? Men who hate you? In the name of power, it's the weak and the women who must endure.
Say it, sister.
I'll cross you no further. I'm sure your tactics are, after all, approved by the Queen.
The people who support her will not be led by her. They look to a man for strength. Better suited to it. The High Towers with their scheme of Viserys' first true heir. When I take King's Landing, Rhaenyra is welcome to join me there and take her place by my side, ruling together.
This is not good, team. Frick. Never mind, maybe we have the exact same problem as Team Green. Everybody just vying for the throne for themselves.
My castle is a tomb. Empty.
Queen Rhaenyra wishes to lend you hand.
As he should be.
Even the death of my wife does not content her. Or does she think the position will compensate me for my loss?
Shoot, no, we need you.
To King's Landing then. Rhaenys was not only your wife, she was a Targaryen princess.
Heck yeah.
She died as she would have wished to die, in Dragonfire. The way my mother chose.
in the way I myself wish to meet my end.
Don't manifest it.
I will see Rhaenyra ascend the Iron Throne as Rhaenys wished.
I'm gonna cry all over again.
May do as you see fit.
Your Grace.
I wish you to go to Harrenhal.
Yeah, somebody check in on him.
Removing me from your council.
I will not deny you have tried my patience of late. And I know you will never accept the Hightower claim.
Not while I live.
Find out his state of mind. And
It's not good.
intentions.
They're not good.
Intentions.
Whether he means to raise a host for me or for himself.
She sniffed him out.
He would not dare.
Tell him I would much like to finish our last conversation.
And tell him to step off. Check himself.
Your Grace. The River Lords have come, Your Grace. They are demanding to speak presently.
I can't tell what's dream and what's real with him anymore. What is real life and what is hallucination?
Is there some reason you feel free to wake a king in his bed?
There were works of barbarity. Punishing Bracken for his own treasons is one thing,
And I tell you, there is no honor in a fight such as
Honor?
this.
What of common decency?
These beasts.
We should have expected nothing more from a man who ordered the slaughter of a child in his mother's arms.
Know this, interloper. The Riverlands are an ancient place. We shall not raise our banners for a tyrant.
Get a grip. Actually, no, this is karma coming back for him. Take it, come on. Is that a yes? Wow, he looks like Viserys in some ways. After trying so hard not to be like his father, he's in the exact same.
What is the mood at the twins?
He wishes for the phrase to be granted Harrenhal.
I'm proud of you, Jace. You've done our cause a great service. You chafed at being prevented from action. Imagine, my lord, I'm a dragon rider as well, sending others to fight and be felled in my name.
The tie that binds us, no harm can come
And
to
you're
you.
my son, and I did not give you leave to go.
But who else is there? Rhaenys is dead and Baelor cannot bear the burden alone.
Will you fly before Vhagar as Luke did? Aemond will not wait long to press his advantage, and then what? Shall I fight for my birthright, or shall I wait here until we are all destroyed? I need dragons.
You have two large enough to stand against Vhagar, and they sleep just beneath our feet.
Yes, and if only they had riders, none could stand against me.
There are those of our line who never ruled. Their children, born with other names.
A dragon will only accept a dragon lord to ride it. Are you suggesting we put a Malister on a dragon?
It's better than death and defeat.
We need backup. We need numbers, y'all. She's thinking about it.
It's a mad sword.
But you're thinking it. We need backup. We need help, y'all. Let's thicken our numbers. It's wild, but we're desperate. We are desperate. We need all hands on deck, no matter who's there. Look at Jay. He's pulling his weight, proving himself. I'm not opposed to some unconventional, whatever we have to freaking do, y'all. We need backup. And he's right, we got 2 power players sitting right underneath our feet. This was a blood-boiling episode. Maybe even more so than last week. Last week was just sheer tragedy, but it's almost like frick. I thought Aegon was bad. No, but like, I don't... Okay, I hesitate to say that he's good in any way, shape, or form, because he's obviously not. He has a lot of flaws. He's done a lot of freaking awful things, so take everything I'm saying with a grain of salt. This is not me rooting for Aegon. I will never be Team Green or Team Aegon. However, if it's between him and Aemond, it's like, well, frick. They both have issues. They both have severe problems, which is why I have absolutely zero sympathy for Alicent in any way, shape, or form. Yes, she deserves to be fuming in this episode, and it's very clear that she's trying to seize this opportunity here to maybe right her wrongs of misinterpreting, Viserys' final dying words and supplanting the throne with her awful firstborn. God forbid now, her awful secondborn. So it's like, I could see her trying to grasp, like this was a last-ditch effort for her to maybe try to like reel things in and cover her tracks to then take a position of power here, while while Aegon's out for the count to maybe undo some of this awfulness, you know, to feel like she's righting some of these wrongs perhaps, but she doesn't deserve sympathy by any means for fuming here at the sight of Aemond becoming regent here, but I don't feel literally any sympathy for her at all. How could I? These are your children. And it's extremely hard to grasp because yes, Alicent herself makes points and is a good advocate for the fact that like, I know what the frick I'm doing. I did this for years with an ailing husband, stepped into this position when she was frickin' 15 years old. So she's got the resume to back it up and also a track record of peace within the realm during that time. So it's especially shocking that somebody who entered into this role in power and authority as young as Alicent did and had to learn those ropes wouldn't have trained her kids to be better, especially since she was coming after Aegon all that time, trying to groom him, trying to smack some sense into him to make him realize that he is the existing challenge to the throne, that he does have something to potentially live up to. The entire time she was planting that seed, dangling that in front of him, trying to whip him into shape. But it's like, if you had those aspirations for your children all along, like it's not like she accidentally raised awful kids and then suddenly was like, oh shoot, they're gonna be king. She wanted this for her children all along. Aegon specifically. Why did you raise them to be god-awful then? Like, I don't have sympathy for her. Aemond as well, you know, she acts like he's out of control. Like, she really is kind of like Dr. Frankenstein here, and it's like this monster creation can't reel it in, can't control it anymore, but perhaps she neglected, you know, Aemond, of course. It's always the apparent heir to the throne who would get all that attention and kind of grooming, but you can't even make that argument there that she put all of her attention on Aegon trying to make him the better heir to the throne. He's clearly not, but it's almost in some ways Aemond is worse. I can't believe I'm so intrigued by Team Green, you know, this season. Specifically Aegon. You know, again, everything I'm saying take with a grain of salt because I'm not rooting for him, but his menacing qualities I feel like pale in comparison to Aemond's. Aemond actually freaking knows what he's doing, and when he snaps and does something temperate and does something very rash, it has dire, crazy consequences, but he doesn't break a sweat. He's unyielding. It doesn't disturb or bother him. He takes it and then tries to just run with it, tries to just snowball it and see how to continue to capitalize on it, versus Aegon is kind of like a child cosplaying in these like big boy, like his dad's pants, you know, like, which is why you kind of feel for him because he's trying desperately to live up to that and to claim this position of power and make a name for himself and garner some respect when it's clear nobody around him really has that for him, versus Aemond is much more commanding, and I think everyone does fear him, even though he's what, freaking like 16? I think in many ways Aemond is much more horrific. He doesn't flinch. He was very hardened as a child, obviously, after the very scarring, you know, trauma that he endured, and I think he just bottled that up and has been just letting that brew ever since to come and just boil over now. It's interesting because he is so commanding and he does have this intensity about him and just very seamlessly steps into the position. Of course, I'm sure this is what he has wanted all along. Even in their youth, I think he resented Aegon for, you know, not being willing to accept their duties. You know, it's a similar complex with Daemon, seeing your older sibling take the throne and thinking that you deserve more to be there or that you would do a better job. But it is interesting, yes, Aemond can be commanding in a sense and seems to be the smartest one in the room, but I think his rashness is due to the fact that he's still so young and has this big ego. His prefrontal cortex isn't freaking developed. Why didn't anybody listen to Alicent? Like, this whole episode was a little bit obviously infuriating, watching the men trying to steer the women into their place, suggesting that they're not necessarily the ones cut out to guide in wartime like this, in a scenario like this, but it's like, look what's been happening. The men are the one driving this to shiz. But I still feel no sympathy for Alicent in that regard. Kristen Cole can freaking no integrity, no backbone. She needs to go to her brother. If you're looking for the truth, go to your brother. He was there. He saw it all with his own eyes as well, I think. That's what's so curious about Kristen. This kind of proves, there I was thinking that he had loyalty. Not necessarily. I think he's just really out for himself, looking after his own back. He knows, I guess, Aemond's not gonna tattle and confess to what exactly went down at Rook's Rest, so why would he? He's kind of just like a subservient, dare I say, little puppy dog. Like, he'll just go wherever the power is to watch his own back and kiss their feet, you know, kiss the ground that they walk on. So whether that's Aegon or Aemond, or no integrity, no spine, no backbone. Come on, I need Gwaine, come spill the beans, share what really freaking went down. But perhaps Alicent suspects it and is too afraid to admit it to her, even herself, or maybe she doesn't even want to know. She may be better off, frankly, not knowing. For Rhaenyra, the solace I get is that she's clearly self-aware about having to seize her own power now because she can't rely on Daemon for it anymore and doesn't necessarily even freaking trust him anymore. She sniffed him right out. So it's like, yes, you've been relying on all of the men in your life all this time to help supplant your power and raise you up. You don't need them. Don't freaking rely on them anymore. Seize it. Seize your own. And obviously her hands are tied, and everybody in the room, all the men on her council, are telling her that she shouldn't necessarily be risking her life in order to act. I mean, yeah, look at Aegon when he tried to do that and prove himself and be there for his own army and whatnot, and he got burnt to a freaking crisp. So it's like, you can't fault them for wanting to keep her safe, obviously, because if she's lost, then what's the point of all of this? Hopefully she'll be able to act on that a little bit more and make some power moves for herself, especially since we know now that freaking Daemon, done. Cutting him off. If y'all catch me rooting for that man again between now and when all of this ends, keep me accountable, because he is too freaking far gone. This man is on a freaking power trip. It's hilarious that he's not even like beating around the bush anymore, trying to dance around it. He's full-fledged, like, call me the king. Like, bend the knee to me. Pretend she doesn't exist. Look at me. I'm the king now. That's literally how he's behaving out here. He's not even trying to reel it in anymore to disguise it as a mask for, oh, I'm still serving my wife. I'm just a vessel for her. I am a mouthpiece for her. I speak for her. No, that's been shed. That's not even a disguise anymore. It's hilarious. It's so pathetic. It's so just... Some of y'all are gonna hate me for saying that, but the unfortunate truth of being, you know, born as the second child and always living in this shadow and letting that drive you to a place of like this desperation to the point where you will betray your own. Aemond, I think, is just a little bit more cutthroat about it versus Daemon. It's kind of just coming from like this just sad place of just desperation. Where this man started, the way I was bending the knee to him in frickin' season 1, and I truly was out here preaching like this is Daemon Targaryen's world and we're just living in it, and how far he has fallen here. Like, if she were in the room right there to reel him in, would he still be doing all of this? I would like to think not. Maybe he does still love her. Maybe, yeah, if she were there in front of him in the room with him, if they were doing this side by side, taking this on together as united front, this wouldn't be happening and he wouldn't be going rogue and defecting and doing his own thing and trying to seize this whole scenario for his own good and whatnot. I would like to believe that if she was there in the flesh with him, none of this would be happening, but that's why I just think it's a little bit... Sorry, y'all are gonna chew me up for calling David pathetic, but that's kind of how it feels, because it's like here he is on this power trip trying to like wield all this authority and just garner it and take advantage of the situation for himself, but he's over here tripping. He's literally not even in his right mind. Like, his power is slipping. I am hoping that Lord Corlys has accepted this offer to be the hand. You know, the last thing we need is for him to hold resentment against Rhaenyra, which I'm sure he does. That's rightfully so. Y'all saw me last week. I wouldn't blame him. I was blaming her as well. That said, though, you know, I was hoping that this would create a more unified front. The last thing that we need is for him to peace out and bounce. He's kind of like one of the last formidable foes, I think, on our side. It is interesting, though. Everybody's trying to vie for the power. Everyone's divided, even amongst their own teams, it feels like. Hopefully, this can unite Team Black a little bit, and you know what? Just let Aemond up there to run Team Green into the ground. Maybe this is actually a blessing in disguise. Go ahead, put Aemond at the helm, see what happens. But it's clear they're already losing public favor. Let them drive themselves into the ground. The people are already against them, trying to frickin' bail. Well, thank you guys for joining me for another week of House of the Dragon Sundays here. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode. I'll catch you guys next week for episode 6. Holy frick, we're entering the latter half of this season already, y'all. But until then, I hope you guys are doing so well as always, and I will see you guys again very, very soon. Bye, guys.